My name is Barefoot Will, and this is a Barefoot Shoe Review. And today we're going to be reviewing the Avancus Apex Power High Top. First thing first is aesthetics, and this shoe has the aesthetic. If you're unfamiliar with the barefoot shoe world, or maybe you are familiar with the barefoot shoe world, you will know that finding an aesthetic shoe is quite the challenge. However, this shoe leaves nothing to be desired when it comes to aesthetic. In my opinion, this is one of the, if not the leading aesthetic barefoot shoes on the entire market. If you were to go into a Foot Locker or Champs and you see all the shoes on the wall, if these were going to be on the wall, it would be very hard not to notice them. And they stand out for all of the right reasons. The overall simplicity of the design to me speaks wonders. I really love how sleek and pretty simple the shoe itself is. And then when we get to the rear, you have a nice bold logo and the same logo on the front of the tongue here. This is something different from their low tops and their first version. They had a pretty bold logo on the side, but with the high top, they decided to abandon that, and I think that that was a great move. Next, I want to go over the applications and the use of this shoe specifically. So this shoe was originally designed as a powerlifting shoe, and that is who this company markets towards. And it is great for that application. The grip of the sole of this shoe is absolutely insane. By far one of the grippiest soles that I've seen on any shoe specifically, especially when you get into the gym. This thing, once you get it planted and you grip into the ground while you have these shoes on, there's not much moving. It's pretty insane how much grip is here. But if you were to cross over into a court sport, specifically basketball, I personally think this is a great shoe for that application. You've got the nice kind of supported ankle support here where it's a little bit more rigid, but the added grip that the sole provides with this little bit of lateral support that you get from the sole, I think makes this shoe a perfect shoe for the people that are trying to get away from the typical narrow-toed basketball shoes that want to go to a more minimalist wide toe box shoe for the court. I think this shoe specifically would be the perfect option for that. Next thing I want to go over is the toe box. Toe box is pretty important, especially for people that are trying to increase their foot health. We all know that toe splay is very important, and this shoe definitely allows plenty of toe splay. Super wide toe box to where the toes can spread and grip the ground appropriately, but with most wide toe box shoes, they look like a wide toe box shoe, which can be a turnoff for a lot of people. This specifically does not look like a wide toe box shoe. The simple design that they used with this added little bit of rubber toe protection and the kind of aesthetic way that they went about it very much so hides the wide toe box look and still allows for your foot to be very flat and very spread within the toe box. If I had to compare the toe box of this shoe specifically, I would probably say it's around the width of like Tolos or Vivo Barefoot Promise Lights. Next, I want to go over ground feel, and this shoe specifically, amongst most other barefoot shoes, has an incredible amount of ground feel. I can really feel everything below my foot. If I'm in the gym and I get on and off the mat, the rubber matting, I can really feel some of my foot leaving the mat and touching the concrete. If I'm just wearing these out and about, I can feel small rocks that are underneath the sole, which in my opinion is what I would love to have for this specific shoe, so you can get that added proprioceptive feedback. There's over 200,000 sensory receptors and over 8,000 nerve endings in the bottom of your feet. This shoe allows those nerve endings and those sensory receptors to give the body the feedback that it needs in order to complete the task at hand. Next category is flexibility, and this shoe does have a surprising amount of flexibility considering it is a high top. So if we were to basically divide the shoe into thirds, this being the rear third and this being the front 2/3, the front 2/3 is definitely super bendable, super pliable, and super flexible. However, when we get to the rear third of the shoe, it does have just a little bit more rigidity, not quite as flexible as that front 2/3. And in my opinion, for what the shoe is built for, that is amazing. Now, I want my midfoot and my toes to be able to contour quite a bit across any type of surface. But when we get into a powerlifting or a gym scenario, or even a basketball type of scenario, you want to avoid what's called spillover. And spillover is when you plant the foot and the foot tends to roll. So what they've done with the sole of this shoe is added a little bit of rigidity to that back 1/3 and added a little bit of rigidity to here on the sole and right here to the front 1/3. Now it's not as significant as far as rigidity at the front 1/3, which I think is great, but it does have that nice lateral support to keep your foot and ankle from just kind of spilling over like you would get in, let's just say, a Vivo Barefoot Promise Light. Now I want to talk about the durability of these shoes specifically. So today we're reviewing the high top, and I have had no complaints on the durability of this shoe at all. However, I've only specifically worn this when I'm treating patients in the clinic and during most of my lifting sessions. However, these are the version 1.0s of the low top, and I've had these probably over a year and a half now, and I think the testament to quality out of the 1.0s transfers directly over to the high tops and the low top 2.0s as well. I've had absolutely no complaints on the durability after the 1.0s, having them for, like I said, about a year and a half. They've held up incredibly well. And lastly, I want to go over the price of this shoe. In my opinion, this shoe is so underpriced. It's only $99, $100 for such a high quality pair of shoe. To me, it's an absolute steal. And I just want to give a quick shout out to the owner of Avancus, Arsha. He is the guy that has been sending me these shoes to do reviews and testing out for you guys. Big shout out to him. He really does a great job of collecting a ton of feedback from all of the powerlifters that are using his shoes. He's using all of the feedback that people are giving on the website as far as reviews, and he's really taking into consideration all that feedback to continue providing such a quality shoe. And man, I'm just so proud of him, of the progress that he's made so far. If you guys do decide to support his company and want to support me as well, then when you go to purchase a pair of these shoes specifically, there is going to be an option to add a note into like a specialty order tag. Just be sure to let them know that Barefoot Will sent you. That helps me out way more than you know, and I would appreciate that so much. All right, guys, that's the wrap up for this specific review. If you have any questions, be sure to leave a comment. And if you have a specific shoe that you would like me to review in the future, then go ahead and drop that shoe in the comments, and I'll make sure that I get to it at some point. All right, guys, thanks for tuning in.